All right, so most of us are scientists. I know everyone likes to know where a presentation is going, and I'm the same way. So we'll be talking about refining your personal branding, creating a LinkedIn profile that will get noticed, utilizing LinkedIn's tools to network. And I know most of this because I use them myself. I use them actually to get sponsors for this event. I sent probably 500 emails, and so I know how to contact people, even if I'm not linked to them. So very useful for job hunting as well as so-called business development if you're working at a company in that area, or even just finding research partners, etc. And then finally, I'll give you my one weird trick for contacting almost anyone in life science on LinkedIn for free. All right, so we'll go first talking about your personal branding. Just to talk a little bit about me and, kill two birds with one stone. I've really had an evolving brand. I started out in biochemistry, and I tell everyone I grew up watching the Brady Bunch, and I really wanted to live in California. And so I finished my PhD in Riverside, and then I did my postdoc at Scripps in San Diego, and of course did not want to leave San Diego. And about that time, speaking of the video we just saw about Codex DNA, the first human genome was sequenced, if you can believe that. It seems like a long time ago. And then in 2002, I had come from an academic background. I really didn't know much about anything other than research and development. And I had this aha about marketing. I really enjoy marketing and the challenge of it and being able to help scientists market their products. Then in 2008, I actually wanted to become a single parent. So that's, a whole other story in and of itself. But I realized I wanted to have the flexibility of being able to work from home. And this is, of course, much before COVID. So I was able to found the San Diego Biotech Network as well as a marketing firm. And so, of course, both are still going on in some ways. I still do some marketing consulting. Then in 2015, I took a full-time job actually at Codex DNA. And this was because I was able to take a full-time job because my daughter was older. And if you're at any age above probably 30, you're probably thinking about your 401k, and companies make it very easy to put money into your retirement. So that's and of course Codex DNA is incredibly exciting, and synthetic biology. But I took a full-time job, and then in 2017 there were some external events. The last president was elected, and I felt like I was being called to found a science advocacy group. And so you may, if you live in San Diego or actually anywhere, we funded science marches, and I was very passionate about that. It turns out running a nonprofit is pretty difficult, and we see with some of the issues now with vaccine hesitancy that I'm not sure a few nonprofits will be able to handle that. That's another topic altogether. And then in 2019, I had a great opportunity to work for a company called Eurofins to start their diversity and inclusion initiative. And I had a great experience building it, learned a lot about diversity and inclusion. And this is one of the reasons I feel qualified to present about that. So the unconscious bias event that we'll be doing February 24th, I'll be leading that. And so again, I spent about 2 years there. I really love diversity and inclusion, but again, there external forces. I started realizing that there's this tremendous opportunity to connect people virtually, and I excel at computers and web development, and also I'm a leader. So I might be a little modest about that, but I did that in 2021. So just to tell you, I just took tangents. I kept following what I loved, and it's a very enriching for yourself to learn about yourself and also to follow what you love. Um, so I didn't really know it at the time because I had not heard about this concept, but there's a Japanese concept called Ikagai, and you can see here down on the lower right. And it's finding what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. And when you can find that center, you really don't dread any part of your work. Of course, there's always going to be things that you're not real. I hate accounting. I have to actually, it's February. I have to do all my accounting early because that's what small businesses have to do. So, but the big picture is I'm really happy about that. So there's actually all sorts of books about Ikagai, and this is a book. And if anyone wants the link, but it shouldn't be too hard to find. But it's actually a workbook to talk about, some of these things in this slide. So what parts of your job do you like or dislike? So I loved science. I loved working at the bench, but I found I liked other things better. Some of the things about becoming a principal investigator, most importantly, I would have had to leave San Diego probably. Led me down the path of going away from research and development. Another aspect is, do you ever flow? Do you ever forget about everything that's going on and just work on something for hours? And this is from a book called Drive by Daniel Pink. And, you probably are all thinking about times that you do that. And then also, what activities or hobbies bring you joy? So I always enjoyed setting up events, and I enjoy doing web development. I love marketing, and so that pushed me in this direction. Then you can also do emotional intelligence tests. And, I did one of these probably maybe 7 years ago, the Myers-Briggs. So that is the determining whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and then other factors, how you see the world. And I actually discovered that I'm an introvert, and that kind of surprised me because I'm always planning events, but everything started to come together, when I actually plan those events. I often have to go off and sit by myself for a little while because it's exhausting to me. So just to understand that, I know that I probably would never want to go into sales because I think you have to be pretty extroverted to walk up to people. And so I'd highly suggest, there's many tests on the internet. And then DISC is something also that's similar. It's not free on the internet, but it will tell you more about your personality. And then again, as I pointed out, the different tangents I took during my career, it seemed kind of like a random walk. But if you can think about these different aspects, hopefully you will find the answer more quickly than I did. And if you're struggling to answer these questions, it's okay. So it might be something that, takes some introspection. And also looking in the next slide, you may need to explore. So when I was a scientist, leaving academia around 2000, I didn't know anything. The internet was burgeoning. There were few biotech. Yeah, I think most biotech companies had a website, but the search engine was Yahoo at that time, probably. So you have a lot more options now. So you can look for classes or accreditations in your area of interest. And I'm a big fan of UCSD Extension. If you're in San Diego, likely most regions have a great biotech focused or life science focused extension program. And the community colleges, of course, have a lot as well. And then talk to people you meet about what they do and why. And, events, I know right now we're not doing in-person events, but as I mentioned, we'll be doing the February 24th event where we actually do real speed networking. So you'll actually be able to be paired with someone randomly online and in the biotech area and just talk to them. And some people call these an informational interview. And that's a little bit more formal, where you would have someone agree, you call them up and ask them questions. And then of course, we'll be talking about LinkedIn. There's all sorts of ways that you can find what I call role models to determine, whether you like that, what they're working on, what they're talking about, interests you, etc. And then also networking and volunteering. Again, it's difficult to volunteer right now. In San Diego, there's a great organization called San Diego Entrepreneurs Exchange that they do a really good job of incorporating volunteers. And then just there's so many different areas that you can learn about. Too many to talk about now, but there's just so many interesting things that you can do. All right, so building your personal brand. So we talked about doing your own research, quote unquote, and talking to people, but you can also just do, internet searches, look at news. Twitter, of course, is big in life science. There's a lot of people sharing on Twitter. You can set up Google alerts if you want to be the expert in protein purification or drug development. You can get those delivered straight to your inbox. And then, of course, LinkedIn we'll be talking about. And then you can get information there, and then you can reshare that information. So, for example, currently my life science brand, if you look on LinkedIn, I talk about diversity and inclusion. I talk about biotech, and that's my brand. And that doesn't mean that was my brand 5 years ago. That's the great thing about learning and growing, and also the internet, because you can change things. And if someone, wants to look at who you were 5 years ago, I think, they might not want to extrapolate that far, but you can certainly change. All right. And science communication is also a big topic. Empowering scientists to be able to tell their stories. Storytelling is big right now. So telling your story of your research, it's very powerful, even in an interview, to be able to tell the story of what you did and why it's important. All right, so the next bullet, how to create a LinkedIn profile that will help you to stand out. All right, so your LinkedIn profile should be as complete as your resume. So recruiters still do look at your resume, but they might not find you if you don't have all the information on your LinkedIn profile. So I did a resume workshop in December of last year, and you can watch that video by clicking here if you download the link, or you can go to the Biotech Network's YouTube channel. It should be easy to find. So you want to use action words and bullets. And so this is something, again, it's in the presentation. It's all over the internet if you look for action words, and you want to say that you collaborated on something and you led a team. And as scientists, we're often taught that we should be passive, the sample was stirred when you're writing a paper, or we shouldn't brag. And you really need to break out of that when you are presenting your personal brand, because if you're not, if you're going to brag one time, this is the time you need to brag, because you really, want to put your best foot forward. And then you want to also think that recruiters are searching LinkedIn all the time. And so you want them to find you. So one of the best ways is in your headline, put that you're seeking a certain job for search optimization. Of course, if you already have a job, that may be difficult. But if you can work that in somewhere, like let's say you're a manager and you want to be a director, somehow you can fit in that you're directing projects, etc. There's all sorts of things that you can do. And again, the wonder of the web is that you can continually change it and see where you get the best results. And then you want to add all the past companies that you have been at so that people can find you. And you never know what, so maybe somebody wants someone who used to work at Thermo Fisher, because they know that Thermo Fisher worked in a certain area. And so you want to be able to put that. And then you want to use a variety of keywords. So let's say that you work in CRISPR and you think, wow, CRISPR, nobody uses the term gene editing anymore. It's all CRISPR. Well, you don't know that. You want to put in gene editing and make sure that anyone who's searching for gene editing will also find that. And then you want to add a headshot. So it needs to be something that is simple, professional, nobody else in the photo, and it's the next best thing to face-to-face. And as I mentioned, I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion, and I've been asked point blank in presentations whether historically excluded individuals should be putting their photo, their LinkedIn photo. And my answer to that is that you can, on LinkedIn, you can choose to only show your photo to your primary connections. And so this is a way to get around it. Of course, they are going to find out that you, for example, have gray hair like I do, and you may be discriminated against because of that. But when you're doing your very first impression and you want to get through that initial screen, you may not want to add your photo. And then some people tell me, well, I don't want to be hired by a company or recruited by a company that cares about that. And so it's highly subjective, but it's just something to keep in mind. All right. All right, so more on maximizing your profile. You can get a quote unquote vanity URL. And so what this means is my URL at the end says just Mary Canady. It doesn't have a bunch of numbers. By default, LinkedIn is going to put a bunch of numbers and random things. And so that helps me because I never forget what my URL is. I could type it in here if I wanted people to connect, and feel free to connect with me. But you can also put it on your business card, and it's just an extra kind of a bling, I guess, to put on your profile. Include your complete contact information, so you don't know whether the person that is recruiting for you is someone who prefers the phone, email, etc. They want to follow you on Twitter to see what type of content you're sharing, etc. And then you can also put that in your description if you really want to connect with people. You can put your email address, but you may be liable to spam. But then one thing I don't think enough people do is get recommended. So you can ask whoever you've worked with to recommend you. It's not asking too much. And what I found is about 50% of the people that I ask actually recommend me. So you can get quite a few recommendations, and you can choose whether or not you want to recommend that person after, because LinkedIn will ask you. And then adding connections and finding role models. This is a great way to, so many things, benefit in so many ways from increasing your network size. And then also you want to check for spelling errors. And so the newest browsers will probably tell you when you're spelling something wrong, but you never know. You may be at your lab and they've got the, Internet Explorer from 10 years ago. So you just want to make sure that you don't have spelling errors, because it's hard for people to know whether it's because English isn't your first language, or you may just be, not taking care of the details. And so you can actually download a PDF and open in Microsoft Word if you want to do that, or update your browser, make sure that you're on a current browser. All right, so now we'll talk about how best to utilize LinkedIn's tools and to network with the right biotech connections. All right, so as I mentioned, a bigger network gives you more opportunities. I have literally been growing my LinkedIn network every day since I started. And so I kind of go back to those vestigial scientists, I want to collect things, I want to see the data. And so every event I go to afterwards, I connect with people, and it's not, nobody's offended. If you want to connect with them, it's your prerogative. It benefits them as well. And so when you're looking for people, let's say you want to get into protein production, and you're searching on LinkedIn, if you have more connections, you'll see more people that may be able to help you. And you'll also see jobs that people are posting as well. And so there's so many benefits. And so I've just listed here all the places you can look. You can actually upload your contacts, look at companies you've worked at, just really kind of do a audit. And I will be, you can download the LinkedIn worksheet. And I think that if once you start thinking about it, and, again, paper and pencil, at least for my generation, I still enjoy that, and kind of sometimes gets my my brain working in a different way. And then outside LinkedIn, this is more for business development. If you are in looking for new clients, etc., you can look in these locations. All right, so some job seeking tips. So follow as many companies as you'd like. I was actually, as I'm doing the research for this, I looked at how many companies I'm following. I think I'm following 800 or 900. And then I started looking through them, and there are a lot that aren't even in business anymore, so I unfollowed them. So I'm probably the extreme case, but I like to see what's going on, and you'll see job updates. You'll be able to know what's going on. If somebody has just raised money and they're probably going to be hiring, that's a good thing to know. So LinkedIn also has great job alerts. So you can set up any number of job alerts. And although I really, we have our own job boards, of course, because we're running this career fair, the LinkedIn jobs are a very complete source as well. And so I highly suggest that. And then when you apply for a job, you can contact the hiring manager and or the recruiter. And there's all sorts of things on the internet about this, should you or shouldn't you. But I think, I'm a big fan of just being active and showing them, what's the worst that can happen? If they're going to be offended that you emailed them about that you applied for a job, then I think that there's other there's other issues with that company or that recruiter. And so I would say about 30% of the time you can see that a certain recruiter posted that job. So you can find that recruiter. And what's great about contacting a recruiter, what makes it easier, is that I would say 50% of recruiters have their profiles set so that you can message them for free. And so you can see this message indicator here doesn't have a lock on it. And then if you want to find the hiring manager, that's a little bit tougher. So I would say in probably also, maybe 50 to 75% of job listings will say this person is reporting to this person. And it's kind of funny because you can't always find that exact title on LinkedIn, but you can guess. And again, I don't think you're going to be offending anyone to say, I'm interested in this job. I was wondering if you're the hiring manager, just here's my resume, etc. So that's my suggestion, and you can go with your own comfort level. And then if you're only sending a few messages a month, you can upgrade your LinkedIn account to send InMails, and they have 3 different options, and you can actually have 30 days for free. And then my other ways to send messages for free will be in later slides, and we'll see if I have enough time for a demo. All right, so just some new and useful LinkedIn features. First slide, you can add your pronouns, and you can do this now when you're making your profile. And you may think that your profiles are obvious, but it's helps others who want to make their pronouns known. It helps them feel more open to do that. So if everyone has their pronouns on LinkedIn, it makes it more easier for other people to add them. So I'm stumbling a little bit, but that's why I added mine, and it's a issue of diversity and inclusion. And then you can also record your name pronunciation. I can't tell you how many people mispronounce Canady. So I did that actually today. I hadn't done it, but you actually have to use your mobile app to do that. And it shows up on the real app, but you have to record it on your mobile app. So that takes 30 seconds. And then while I'm talking about the mobile app is great when you're working while doing something else. So if you're like me, it's almost impossible for you to watch TV without having your phone in front of you. And so what I do now is I look for updates. I look, when I was preparing for this career fair, I was looking for people that were hiring, and then I screenshotted everyone that I saw that was hiring and then followed up with them later. So it's a great idea. Another thing that you can do is you can indicate that you're open to work and post about it. So you may have done that a couple months ago, and LinkedIn may not have that option to actually write a post about it, but you can do that now. Change it to open to work, or you can change it back, and then they'll say post about it. And so that's a nice way to just put the word out there for people who might not notice it on your profile. Then you can feature items on your profile. So for example, when I'm doing an event, I feature that on my profile, and then it gives it an extra push, and also shows people are interested in hiring me. That shows the things that I've been doing lately. And of course, there's all sorts of, you can put projects and publications. And then I've seen people get a lot of attention or a lot of views from posting long form items. And what I mean by that is almost like a mini blog post on LinkedIn. And so I know a woman named Stephanie Holt, who talks about women in STEM leadership. She has a ridiculous number of followers just from that. I think she may be posting videos, but I've seen her get a lot of followers. And of course, images are always good. They just catch people's attention, and video. And then one thing I want to point out from my own point of view is that articles, when I write articles, they don't get many views at all. And maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I have many thousands of followers, and I'll get like 20 views of our actual article. So just to point that out, it might not be worth the time. Of course, you can always try it or publish it someplace else. All right, new and useful LinkedIn features too. You can become a creator, and so what this does is it allows you to gain followers more easily. And so one thing I'll point out though is when someone goes to connect with you, they say, "Oh, do you want to follow this person instead?" And so you have to decide whether is that the message you want to send. I'm currently a creator. I get a lot of requests. Another thing is that LinkedIn, once it knows your creator, it gives you access to different things. So I think I have access to LinkedIn Live now, and then they also highlight your content more. So it might not be for everyone. And I believe, it's hard for me to check, but I think everyone can start a newsletter now. And it might be only the creators, but you can tell me when you go to write an article, whether it tells you to start a newsletter. What's great about this is they email all of your, or they notify all of your connections that you're starting a newsletter. And so it's something I've been thinking about. LinkedIn Learning, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about that you can learn anything from digital marketing to, I don't know all the topics, but it's definitely something, what have you got to lose? And you can also do a skills assessment as well. And then polls, you may see some people getting a lot of traction with polls. They do get a lot of you will get a lot of views, but just be careful just not to do frivolous polls, because that's people, it's not good etiquette. And then LinkedIn events, I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn events, because they used to have them and then they took them away and then they brought them back. And then now they've changed the, what you can do with them. So I would say, try it out if you're doing an online event. It's good for advertising them, because when someone RSVPs, everyone in their network sees it. But there's a high attendance attrition. So I would say 20% of people that RSVP for an event will actually show up. But then they've also added LinkedIn live video. So you can do an event and do LinkedIn live video. So again, maybe not relevant to all of you if you're, not in marketing and communications like I am, but it's just nice to know. All right, so leveraging groups. Groups have also changed a lot from we started our groups back in 2008, and they used to let us do all sorts of things, email people, and now they don't. But still, there's a lot of great features in groups. The biggest one is that you can directly email any group member, and we'll be talking about how to do this. You can post the questions to the group that have to do with your personal brand. Of course, you want to follow etiquette. And then your searches will give more results. And so if someone is a member of a group that you're part of, you'll see them in the searches. And I will point out that LinkedIn doesn't really like giving away things for free. So they kind of hide the option to send a message. So keep that in mind. So you can join up to 50 groups. I always have mine maxed out. And you want to choose large, relevant, and active groups. And a few slides down, I will have the best groups that I found to be able to contact people. And then you can post jobs or your job availability for free. And then you can send cold emails, which I'll talk about. And they're not 100% cold because you are in the same group that they are. So let's, again, go into that protein production. If you're in a protein production group and you reach out to them, they may give it a little bit more weight than just some email that they get in their inbox. And if you don't see what you want, start your own group. I was really happy a couple months ago. There was a few people in San Diego and Boston that started Black Leaders of Color, Biotech Leaders of Color. And so that group is just growing really fast, and it's a great resource. All right. All right, so here we are into how to contact almost anyone on LinkedIn for free. So I'm going to ask you, I think I have enough time to do this. I'm going to ask someone just to put a topic into the chat. What type of person should I try to connect with? And we'll see how good. Like, it could be CRISPR, it could be, if anyone is listening and wants to put in a topic, they want to challenge me to see if I can find someone. And if nobody does, I'll put in CRISPR. And I promise that I haven't tried this. Okay, so I want to connect with someone in the area of CRISPR. So I click on the first person. And sometimes you'll actually want to click with a person with actually the name. Well, somebody made a comment. Cell and gene therapy. Okay. The other one. It's good that you're paying attention. All right, so let's see if I can connect with this person. I'm striking out, so it has to be someone who I share a group with. Let's see this person. Here we go. I got lucky. All right, so cell and gene therapy, I have 3 mutual groups with this person. So his name is Eugene Brandon. So I will copy that in because I might forget it. I look at the groups that were mutual, and if this person has, a very common name, let's say it's John Smith, you want to choose the group with the fewest amount of people in it. So that's this SDBN stem cell group, which is actually won't choose that because that's a subgroup. And so, but anyway, I chose one with only 11,000. So I go to the group, I go over here to see all, and then I just type in his name and voila. And you may be asking yourself, couldn't I just go to Eugene, and couldn't I, oh, see, I don't even see an option, so I can't even connect with him. So this is actually a good example that I wouldn't have been able to message him except for the fact that I'm in the same group. So I think your test of me was successful. And again, don't worry about too much about offending people. And I'll just go through a little bit. Someone involved in alternative careers in science. Maybe I can do that offline, Shrija. So just to tell you about how connections and emails work, if you are a primary connection with that person, you can directly email them. And that's why you really want to be building your network. Secondary, you can email them in a group. You can use InMail, which costs money, except for the first 30 days. You can ask them to connect and put a message in there, but etiquette-wise, this is not the great way to go, because you're kind of being surreptitious, almost like a Trojan horse. Oh, connect with me, but I have this question for you. You can ask for an introduction if you know someone in common. And then actually, very recently, the events, I found that you can join an event. Let's say you go to that protein production, or you sign up for a protein production event. You can contact anyone in that event, which, if you're trying to contact a specific person, it might not be great. But if you're trying to contact someone in protein production at Thermo Fisher, then you go to that event and you can contact that person. So I won't read all of these. It's pretty much the same, but the common is these groups that you can join. Okay, and this is just for someone who missed my demo and is just looking at the presentation. These are just all of the steps. And one point that I didn't bring up is that if you don't share any groups with that person, you can look in the right sidebar and they'll tell you people that are similar. So if your goal is just to find a person in that department, that may work. Or if you don't know who the hiring manager is, of course, you never want to spam. You always want to think about etiquette. But again, I don't think you should worry too much that people are going to be too offended if you want to work for a company. And then these are all of the groups that, it's a numbers game. You join one of these groups with, 476,000 people, chances are the person that you want to contact is going to be in there. And also there are themed groups and regional groups that will help you to do that. So diversity and inclusion, if you want to connect in that area, share challenges and successes, you can join these groups. And again, I urge you that if you don't see the group that you want, please create it, because we need more of that. And then also, just in general, for diversity and inclusion, you can use LinkedIn to follow companies that you're interested in and take a look at what they're posting and whether it feels like it's genuine. And you can also look at their upper management to see whether or not their upper management is diverse. All right, a question I get asked is whether if you should pay for LinkedIn. And personally, I don't. I do every once in a while when I have a specific need. But just to tell you the pros and cons, you get free in-mails every month, but this is a small number. This is like 15. So if you're applying for a lot of jobs, you're going to run out. Another pro is that you can set your profile so that anyone can email you. And so this is good for recruiters that are trying to reach out. It will give you recommended jobs and it will give you salary info as well. Whether these are better than the free, of course, I'm not using, I probably shouldn't say that. LinkedIn will probably not appreciate that, but I don't use the features. And then the cons, of course, it can be pricey, and then you may not use all of the features. So one of the things that they'll always tell you is that so many people viewed your profile, and I used to look at that all the time, and I have never found any use. But maybe that's me. All right, so you can, what's interesting is you can try any level for free. So you could try the very most expensive level and see how it goes, or you can try the cheap level, and or if you're just doing a short job search, try it out. But be sure, my trick is to put a Google Calendar item to cancel it before you get charged, because they're not going to tell you that you're going to be charged in a few days. All right. All right, so we are almost done. Next steps, even if you're not looking for a job, please meet with recruiters. They pay for this. Of course, I gave this workshop for free, but they made it possible. Download the LinkedIn workshop worksheet at this link. And then you can also watch and subscribe on YouTube. We have a career development playlist. As I mentioned, I did the resume workshop. We have personal branding. We have a panel with recruiters. We also have a diversity inclusion playlist, which we talked about employee resource groups, which is a great way to learn about different challenges and successes of historically excluded groups at your company.